everyone, and thanks for joining us today for the Getting Massive Traction Masterclass by ConnectPreneur and Chief Outsiders. I'm Tian Wong, and I'm one of your co-hosts today, the other co-host being Skylar Rallison. Sky, can you put your cell phone number into the chat? So if there's anybody having any technical difficulties or any issues, you can probably text message Sky. It's probably better than using the chat. Today we're going to be about 1 hour in totality. We should be done at 12:30. We're going to have Deborah and her colleague Anil Singh from Chief Outsiders will be presenting, and then we'll have a Q&A, and then we'll hopefully wrap up by 12:30. Unless there's some really burning questions, then we can go a little longer if you guys want, but we definitely want to respect everybody's time. ConnectPreneur has a YouTube channel. Skylar will put in the link. If you subscribe, then when this video gets edited, you'll be able to access the video on YouTube and then share it with your colleagues. We also have a Slack channel, which many of you alumni are on already. So feel free to, once you're in the Slack channel, we will put you into the Masterclass Slack channel, which will allow you to have access to Anil and Deb forever. So feel free to make sure you stay in touch with them. They're a great resource to our community, and we really thank them quite a bit. Before I introduce Deb and Anil, we will like to run our first poll just to give everybody an idea of sort of the status of each company. So what phase is your company in? Are you startup pre-revenue, startup post-revenue, or consistent revenue growth? Just to give an idea, if you guys can answer that, and keep it up for a few seconds, and then we can share the information. I see a lot of startup pre-revenue here, some post-revenue. Last call for the poll. Can we share that, Sky? It looks like we have 57% pre-revenue, 39% post-revenue, and only one person who's consistent revenue growth. So thank you for that. And then now I'd just like to introduce Deborah Fell, who's Area Regional Partner for Chief Outsiders, which is an outsourced CMO firm. And Deb will introduce our instructor today, who is Anil Singh, who's Chief Marketing Officer. Deb, thank you so much for doing this, and welcome.
Thank you, Tian. It's good to be here, and Skylar as well, and welcome to all of you, regardless of the phase of your company. I'll just mention that Chief Outsiders is all about helping companies accelerate growth. So this is a good group for this topic. We provide experienced chief marketing officers on a part-time basis, and they develop and execute custom marketing approaches. My role is matchmaker, to match CEOs and their companies with the right CMO resource to help them grow. And you're about to meet one. Anil Singh is one of our top performance marketing CMOs. He's going to walk you through a case study specifically about getting traction for your business. What's the right strategy for you in your situation? What's your goal? 30, 60, 90 days. How do you decide the right content, the channel choices, and all this talk about positioning? How do you get to it or fine-tune it quickly and then start building demand rapidly without overspending? So all of this and more, Anil is gonna guide you through. And I'll support him along the way here. So Anil, take a minute and introduce yourself, and then take it from here.
Great, thanks. I'm really glad to be here. Thanks for everybody coming. So I'm with Chief Outsiders, and my career has been really scaling both enterprise companies as well as startups, and it's both B2B, B2C. Primarily a data-driven CMO with experience in bringing new revenue streams and really helping companies position themselves in the marketplace at the fastest way. And by and large, I really use performance marketing approach just because it's data-driven. And that led me to bring this case study because it is really an execution of what I just said, based on my background. So if that works, we can get straight into today's case study. Sounds good? Yep. Okay. So getting traction in 90 days masterclass, one of the things I always try and when I'm talking to CEOs and companies, one of the key things we really try and understand is what's the company trying to do? Why do we have such an aggressive schedule? What is really driving? What's the driving factor? What's the driving reason for us to scale our business in such a short period of time? So the first thing we really have to do is kind of get to, freezing here. Oh, there you go. Is to try and understand the company's situational profile. By that, I really mean is that the companies have different situations. Somebody's just trying to grow one part of their product line. Others are really trying to grow a division, meaning whether it's a sales organization or really direct-to-consumer organization, they're trying to grow that. So you really need to understand, and we need to understand, and in this case, we really wanted to understand what's the company's situation. So we realized that, okay, it's a profitable company. Yes, it is a startup, but it's a fairly profitable company. They want to relaunch their product line. They were really sales-driven and private label. They want to brand their own product and relaunch into the market. They are an e-commerce SaaS platform company that provide services and certain guarantees and product lines that really helps increase revenue for any online merchant, right? So that's the business they're in. But they were behind the scene. Now they want to be in front of the scene, which means launch their own brand. Okay, so that's a good understanding. The next thing is, who is their audience? Are they changing the audience? As a result of this business decision, have they really changed? Yes, they have. They were marketing to enterprise. Now they want to market directly to the small business merchants. So that's a big shift. The next thing is, the other big shift is that from being a back end, in other words, providing as a sales product, you're providing your services to the enterprise. Now you want to provide directly to those consumers. In other words, getting the sales folks out of the equation, and now you want to be self-serve. In other words, a SaaS platform, you want to drive people coming in, small businesses, they should come to your website and they should really transact and drop in the app and take advantage of the service. So that really leads me to what's the focus? The focus is really strategy, positioning, and messaging to drive qualified prospects, because audience shifted, business model shifted, and therefore, you have to really reposition yourself. And the other thing is to try and see, is there any internal capabilities? Because it's a startup, they have profitable revenues, but at the same time, are there folks within the organization that can really support your strategy, can really support internally, or is it going to be completely something that we have to do from outside or bring in experts in that? And the last but not the least is, what are the business objectives? Because it's a very short-term go-to-market strategy that we have to develop and go quick to the market, what are the key deliverables? What is the company's understanding? Why do they really think that these are the objectives that we want you to achieve? So I just picked up an example here. If a company is really doing $500 to $1,000 a month, why do they really think they can do $10,000 a month in recurring revenue? And they want to achieve that goal within 90 days. So by understanding these parameters, these situations, what I'm really getting a sense is, okay, what does my roadmap going to look like? What is my go-to-market strategy going to look like? What are the things I have to make decision on, quick decisions, and how do I really go about doing that?
Before you go to the next slide, Anil, Skylar, go ahead and run the growth challenges poll. And Anil, sorry to interrupt you there.
Yeah.
We can kind of find out where everybody's at. What are the key growth challenge, or what is the key growth challenge for you? And then whenever you feel, Skylar, like we've got a good, got everyone in there, let's go ahead and have a look at the answers.
Yeah, sounds good. We're still getting a couple more answers in. So last call for anyone to answer the poll. And Deborah, would you like to share the results of this as well?
No,
No.
You can go ahead and, oh yes, please go ahead and share now.
Okay. We'll share the results.
Wow.
Messaging, interesting. Anil, interesting set of results.
Yeah, and I think this is to be expected, right? So if I understood, a lot of pre-revenue folks are here on the call, and even post-revenue are there. It's really, how do you really differentiate yourself? It's kind of important. Messaging is the way to differentiate yourself, and I think the class that we have today, it really addresses those key challenges. So as I'm going through the situational profile with this company, we kind of got a very quick read on where are my pain points, what do I really need to do to be successful in the 90-day period, right? So let's just go. Okay. Okay, there you go. So we talked about some of the questions where some of the suggestions were that, hey, we need messaging, or the fact that how do we really position ourselves differently. One of the key things that we try and understand is comprehend the business imperative, what must really happen. One of the key things to relaunch a new product or relaunch, change your pivot to your business new model, you really have to understand what's the key problem you're trying to solve. And I want to put a little emphasis here because 80% of the SaaS companies, especially technology companies, they really talk more about their product, not the problem they're trying to solve. And I just put some brand names here just so that we can have a conversation. But we always say we are AI-driven fraud prevention. We got this great, fantastic, product line. The end user doesn't really care how great your product is or how great your technology is. What the end user really cares about is how you're going to solve my problem. So you have to be able to address your problem. If you talk to Amazon, any of the executives, majority of the people, besides data storage, most people really think they're in the delivery business or they're really on-time delivery kind of company. But having talked to some of the even executives who are handling Amazon Pay, they keep saying is that we're in the consumer satisfaction business. All our technology, everything else supports how do we get to that, but that's not our business. Our business, the key problem we're solving is consumer satisfaction. Best Buy changed its entire strategy by saying we're going to be the lowest cost provider to any product you're looking for. We're not going to be the warehouse of all these multiple products and appliances and technology products that we have. We're going to really match every price that you can find anywhere online. As a matter of fact, their salespeople will actually find it for you and tell you that we're going to guarantee that. So companies always pivot to what's the end user problem that we're really trying to solve. So that's one big emphasis. So we have to crack that first right away.
Anil, before you go on, I would just say, and I don't know what everybody else's experience is, but 9 out of 10 sites that I go on, it's all about the product. It's the product, the product, the product, but nowhere on that home page or infrequently does it address like, these are the pain points and this is how we solve them. That's my experience, Anil. I don't know what your experience is with various clients that you've worked with, but it seems like it really starts there and that this is a huge point you just made.
I mean, I think one of the key things that I've noticed, especially with this company as well as other companies, as I mentioned about the fraud prevention company, they talked about, we are the world's leading fraud prevention company that has this AI-driven tool that can really do everything in your inbox. But nowhere did they really say, that we guarantee and protect each and every transaction that you make. Now, if I'm a banking organization and I'm looking for fraud prevention, I'm thinking we make millions of transactions per second. If they're going to guarantee and protect my each transaction, well, that's a benefit to me. Now you're addressing my pain points because a lot of my credentials as well as accounts have been compromised. Now you're addressing that pain point. So I think it's really, that's the slight difference in how you present your website to say that if there is a transaction to be guaranteed, we are the company who will do it for you. And we do millions of transactions. And we'll go through an exercise right in today's presentation. How do you really get to that? Because that's very critical when you're repositioning a company, going back to the market, especially when you want to scale fast. Where is the company today? In context to the key problems you're trying to solve, where is the company today? Where will the company be or wants to be in the next 30, 60, 90 days? I keep repeating this 30, 60, 90 days because that's the business parameter they gave us. That's where they want to be. They want to be 90 days. They want to have X revenues, X number of customers. That's the third question that we got to address. And then in order to help get there, what's there in this case, the company is a SaaS platform. So what's the product line? What's the pipeline? What are the features? What are the benefits that they are going to be providing in the next 30, 60, 90 days? You have to be aware of that. Even if you're marketing and you're developing a go-to-market strategy, you really need to know that just because you know what features and benefits to hype the next time any feature is released. So it's not about, here's a great feature. You have to release in context to what problem you're solving. By adding this new feature, we are guaranteeing every product that you buy for this e-commerce company for the next 60 days. In other words, before we did next 30 days, now we're doing next 60 days post-purchase. So everything has to be translated in terms of benefit to the end user. Understand key targeted segments. Yes, the market has shifted. You have shifted. Understand who your new target audience is. That's an absolute must. And last but not the least, with startups as well as pre-revenue and even post-revenue, prioritize. You really have the great ideas. Entrepreneurs by nature they want to chase wherever they think they're going to get quick revenue. So there are tons of ideas. Everything has to be evaluated on the basis of, is this idea going to get us to the market faster? Or is this idea going to get us the quickest and the most customers in the shortest period of time? Evaluate, and therefore you need to prioritize. Anything more than 2 to 3 priority is really not a good thing, because you're going to get distracted. A, you don't have resources. B, you don't have enough advertising and marketing dollars. C, you want to get some results in the next 60 to 90 days. So prioritization makes sense. So one of the key things that we always emphasize is there are tons of marketing tools, and marketers really are marketers themselves make a lot of this mistake. Where is that? Oh, I got a client, we got to grow revenue. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Do a segmentation study, go through brand positioning exercise for 30 days, go through understanding the channel where we're going to advertise, develop a budget. No, none of the stuff is really important. What is really important is there is no one size. There's no one way of doing marketing, because your business requirements, business needs drives the approach. So marketing has to customize and must customize their approach. It's really, I think this is really more for marketers to kind of understand that we make recommendations very often what we think really sounds good. And frankly, the companies really don't care. They want to see, how can you really prove it to me that you can really get to the market fast and you can deliver some revenue. So you need to customize. Looking at the company's situational profile, looking at their needs, I went straight to the 2 approaches that really works here. One was because they were relaunching themselves as a new product to a new segment. you could argue that, hey, you really need to do more of a brand positioning, right? But brand positioning requires time, requires money, and requires a lot of insight, customer survey, and those kind of things. And even if you get that done fast and you go to the market, you may not have all the data points to tell you, am I really getting the sales purely because of branding exercise and branding positioning, or am I really getting because my product is good? It just happens to be a great product. So the matrix that you're really trying to follow may or may not tell you if you're getting the revenue or the customer traction because of pure branding exercise. On the other hand, I chose performance marketing because performance marketing is really tactical. I'm going to give you some tactics. We're going to define the matrix. We're going to make sure if we achieve X, we know we're going in the right direction. And that's giving us data about the customer. So just keep in mind, we shifted from enterprise to small business. We shifted from private label to own branded. We shifted from going from from sales-driven business model to really 100% online self-serve. So with that, we need to know every step. Each time we market, each time we get a response, we need to measure that. What is the end user telling us? So strategy and tools and tactics deliver quickly and drive sustainable long-term growth. That was the benefit of performance marketing. And that's why I chose performance marketing. And one of the things on the right-hand side is business. The job of any business or any marketer is to provide incremental revenue. It's not about brand presence. It's not about how many likes I got, how many people tweeted about me, how many, we got X number of followers. All that stuff sounds great. But at the end of the day, if you don't have incremental revenue, you have really nothing.
So Anil, you're really taking a very hardcore approach here. And I don't know what the reaction is of folks in the room, because in some, even marketing circles, this would almost be like heresy. Like, how can you go to market if you haven't spent, this time to get your brand positioning? And I'm wondering if you can just kind of summarize one more time, because you're not saying companies don't need brand positioning, that they don't need some of these higher level strategies, but you're speaking about the situation the company is in. So can you just land that point one more time here, because it's good to be clear, and you're being very clear on your position, but just balance that a little bit with this company. Yeah.
So with this company, one thing I want to kind of emphasize, that performance marketing is not saying that you don't need to do brand positioning. What it's really saying is that you will learn about your brand if you go through this tactical driven thing. And I'll get to that in a second, is that how did I really learn? Because we're going to develop multiple positioning. We're going to develop multiple messaging. And we're going to go to the market really fast and get a read from the end user. They will tell you what is resonating. You don't have to sit back and decide, oh, I really think this is the positioning that you need to. You have no clue because you haven't really tested. So you can pontificate about it any which way you want to, but the consumer is going to tell you, the end user is going to tell you right away what is resonating, because they're going to respond to your advertising. So what I'm saying here is that it is, the company's biggest requirement was, I want to be in market in less than 90 days, and I want to show revenue in less than 90 days. With brand positioning, yes, it is a viable option, but it's going to take more than 90 days. But how do I really learn about the messaging, which is what the brand positioning is going to help me? The branding and awareness is going to help me do that. How do I really learn that into the performance marketing strategy? And I'll get to that, how we learned it, because we were taking action on an hourly, daily, and weekly basis. And that's how we learn what our positioning should be, what our messaging should be, what should a brand awareness, what is it telling us? So it's really not that we are skipping one and choosing another, is that with this strategy, with performance marketing strategy, I was able to incorporate even what I was going to get with brand marketing approach, but I was able to carpet at a lower cost and quicker to the market.
Yeah, great. Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah, sure. So again, this is for both the companies that are in this kind of stage, as well as the marketers, as well as the C-suite, is that we don't have to really look back and sit back and do a 30, 40-page go-to-market strategy. This is a one-pager. What you're seeing here is exactly what I gave the company and the board members. And I said, here's how you develop a quick go-to-market strategy. We want to have a very measurable, it's a very tactical plan, but we're going to effectively measure each and every step. Why did I really choose these kind of channels? Because the first thing we decided was, where is the audience? You're pivoting from enterprise to small business. Where is that small business audience? We have around about 20 million on Facebook. We have 7.5 million on LinkedIn, and you can see the numbers. So I went through all of these channels. This is where my audience is. And this is where the audience, so then I knew the characteristics of these channels. How do they really interact with that audience? And once you develop that, then you say, okay, it makes perfect sense. I'm not going to go after, television. I'm not going to go after radio. I'm not going to go after print. None of that stuff, because this is a digital e-commerce SaaS platform. Where is the audience of small business? All, e-commerce online store merchants hang around on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Shopify, and then on Google search.
Anil, we have a great and relevant question from Kevin Neal. And Kevin, do you mind posing your question? I mean, I can read it, but it'd be great to hear it from you.
Sure. Yeah, so this is a good presentation. So basically, talking to end users, you can develop a persona. Maybe you're targeting the network administrator, you're targeting the line of business manager, you're targeting the CFO. And you can learn some insights from them. So is it good to identify those kind of buying personas and the problems that they have and they've articulated to you, and then create a marketing strategy for that, the collateral, the messaging, the problem solved? So basically, should we pick these, 3 or 4 personas and target towards them?
Absolutely. So I'll just make
Good
a quick differentiation. Great question. Thank you so much. So personas are relevant for enterprise, mid to enterprise audiences, because there are multiple decision makers. It could be one in any company, but more or less, it's more than one person who's making a decision. This company and this product line, they shifted from the mid to enterprise to self-serve. So the moment they made that shift, the trigger that went in is that, okay, I have to go directly to the merchant. Okay, I do know that, so I have to go directly to the merchant. But where are these merchants? There are different types of merchants in each of these channels, right? So the Facebook is really instant, quick, lookalike audience, and I'm just going to give them what I call as a billboard kind of advertising, where one message, broad, it's cheap, it's 20 cents for a click, and I'm going to just blast it all the way, because I want to make sure that everybody sees, whether I don't know who they are, but it's very cheap, I can afford it to go broad, and then kind of narrow it down. That's why I put down, go to that audience, look at the lookalike, which is responding, develop the lookalike model, which gets to your persona question, and then you retarget them again. You can retarget them at Google, or you can retarget them on Facebook again. LinkedIn, it's a higher demographic. It's a mid to enterprise level audience. But I want to see, will they really come and buy this product on their own and put it on their e-commerce store? Or no, they really prefer working with the sales folks. We don't have that information, but I can target that and get that information. I don't have to do a study. I just can do it. Why? Because at $1, $2, or $5, even $10 a click, I can get that information by spending $500 or spending $50 a day or 500 in 3 to 4 days. I can really get that information. I don't need to do a persona. So the reason why we went there's something like this was that it's quick, back to the business goal. The requirement was, I want to get to market in less than 90 days, and I want you to generate the revenue for me. I'm not too sure whether it's possible or not, but that's a business requirement that is given to me. And then I said, okay, why do I really need to go to YouTube? Again, back to your persona. I don't have that information, nor do I have the time to do that. So I'm going to go because there's a whole bunch of how to do the biggest influencers for this kind of e-commerce and SaaS platform is really on YouTube. Let me go there and see how the influencers can develop this persona for me. So all I'm doing is going through all of this. Shopify, there's 1 million Shopify prime e-commerce people who are building their store in Shopify. Well, I want to be there when they're building the store because they can download my app and their sales is going to skyrocket because I need to be there. I tell them, hey, along with your fantastic websites that you're trying to build, along with your shopping cart and all of those apps that you're trying to build in, drop in my app too, because it's going to help you scale. So these channels were chosen to really get to the point that you made, which is, how do I build my persona rather than build and then market? I want to market and then kind of build through that.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
So Dave Gottschalk, he raises the size of this challenge. And I'm going to read it, and Dave, you can chime in if I miss one of your key points, and that is, it seems like the target audience is totally different in this case. All the relationships built in the past are no longer valuable, and you need to build new ones with new personas. And he's got a bunch of question marks that it sounds difficult. And Anil, this certainly is. And Dave, I don't know if you want to add to that question, and Anil, you may want to respond, because it sounds like a huge challenge to just make that shift and walk away from all the customers of the past.
So if I understand the question, so they have customers in the past. We already talked to those customers and we figured out in terms of positioning, what really resonated about this product. But the company decided that they wanted to go after this segment because enterprise sales was longer time frame and it was far more expensive, and they felt that new and upcoming e-commerce stores are coming up at a faster rate than enterprise. Is enterprise more profitable? Of course. So they're not abandoning that channel. They're just expanding on this side, which is going to a different audience and a different segment. Did I address that, Neil?
Dave, that was Dave.
Dave, sorry. So
yeah, and I think
they made the shift. So we want to quantify, is the shift right, but at a very low cost? And we also want to quantify that, yes, it's very broad, but this is where the small business is, and is this going to produce a revenue? So in the enterprise side, they might be doing, $3,000 a month or $4,000 a month kind of subscription there. With these guys, they're doing only $40 a month. Best case, maybe $100 a month.
Well, I think it's the same conundrum of whether you're a medium-sized business in revenue, shifting into a new segment, or a startup trying to get your first people, and it's the same challenges. So that's why it's a good topic and good thing for most of us, I think, on this talk to understand is we're trying to go from 0 to 1. And in this company, even though they have a bunch of clients already in a different segment, they're moving into another segment where they have 0 and they're doing the same problem that we have. They just have some revenue and some tools and some people already established to be able to make it happen, which most likely most of us don't. So the challenge for us is how to do all this without all the people and without the nice revenue from your enterprise customers.
Great point. So they had the revenue, but the reason I keep saying startup, because at the end of the day, the reason they had this short-term goal is that they could not survive long enough, even with the revenue that they were getting from the enterprise. So that's the reason why they shifted to this model, because they felt, hey, there are millions and millions of lot more merchants on the small business, small to medium-sized business versus the enterprise. And the enterprise already has a brand presence. So for example, Best Buys has it's enterprise, they have a great brand presence. They don't need a service like this. It's the newcomers who really need the services. So if I'm setting up a shop and I'm doing $10,000, $20,000, $40,000 a month, I need to increase my sales on my e-commerce shop. Well, I need this kind of digital trust. I need this badge that says that, hey, I'm a valid shop. I'm a great shop. You can rely on me. There's a bunch of warranties available. Now, as a shopper, if I go to your site, I feel a lot more comfortable that, oh, I don't have to shop anywhere else. I get the best guarantee. I get the best product. And hey, my identity theft and everything else is protected. And that is in the positioning we kind of go through, what this company really provides. But you have a really valid question, which is, yes, you're moving, you don't have the revenue, but for a startup which doesn't have a revenue, I think what the point here is that at $50 a day or $5,000 a month kind of spend, you're learning a lot more of how you can really scale the business. And that is something you can go rather than saying, hey, I need $150,000 for week one or first month to spend on marketing and advertising. And
Anil, you're on a roll. Bob London, and good to know you're on the line, Bob, has teed up your next slide because he's asking, what customer problems did you determine your client needs to solve, which I believe rolls you right into your next slide.
Yeah.
I do want to make a comment that Bob is leading our next two master classes. He has a Voice of the Customer 2-part masterclass, which hopefully, if you haven't received, let Skylar know and she'll send you the registration information. Again, it's only for our alumni and VIP guests. But Bob, thanks for joining us and thanks for your question. But I did want to interject. So if you guys want to continue the dialogue, Bob is a fantastic resource, one of the best marketing people I know, and former CMO of both public and privately traded tech companies. So hopefully you guys will register for that. But didn't mean to interrupt Anil and Deb, so I just want to say that. Thank you.
No, cool. So great point, Bob. I think so the next thing is, okay, fine, we understood everything else. What kind of approach we're going to take. We know which segment we're going to go after, but at the end of the day, it's the positioning. And again, not sitting back for hours and days and months to try and develop a positioning. We have something called brand house positioning, and I just added on in a day just because even a chief outsider, we take a couple of weeks to kind of develop this. And this is how you really do it on a first day, is positioning. Positioning is really nothing but what's in it for me from an end user perspective. What do I gain out of this? Why do I really need to take an action? Why is your product so good? What's the pain point you're trying to solve? How are you going to help me? And we said is that after talking to the sales guys, as well as talking to some of the previous clients, I know it was enterprise clients, that we said, what really resonated with you? It was lowest price guarantee, identity theft protection, and every transaction. In other words, we are telling the e-commerce merchant that every transaction that your shopper is coming to your site is his or her action is kind of guaranteed. So what is happening is that all the small business, their number one problem is it's not that they cannot drive traffic to their e-commerce site. They cannot convert enough people. So there are two challenges that most of the entrepreneurs really go through. One is, do I really need to have variety of products? Are my products really resonating with them, whatever I'm selling? And the second thing is, I don't have enough credibility. I don't have enough digital trust. People really don't trust my site because a whole bunch of companies and websites coming up every day. I don't have the trust. So how do I really build that? And our value proposition to each of this merchant was, yes, there are three things that go into trust. One is, hey, lowest price. Can you guarantee that? So this way they're not shopping around. Yes, we can do that. Is if there is protection. In other words, product didn't come in the right place, there's something broken. How much can you really help me out in terms of what's the dollar amount you're going to cover with my purchase? Yes, we can do that. We can cover up to $10,000. And last but not least, online accounts are being hacked every day. And not only just for online, but even offline, can you guarantee identity theft? And yes, we can do that. So those are the three things that really made an entrepreneur or an e-commerce or a startup, even a small to mid-size, somebody who's doing 150 to 200,000 a month, they felt that this was the benefit. If we provided that, then their biggest challenge is the shoppers who are not converting online, they feel confident with these kind of guarantees and they're going to do it. So we put a digital trust right throughout their shopping experience on the website that follows them all across through the shopping experience, and it results. And what the result was, 7 to 15% lift in conversion.
And Anil, I just want to mention because I'm watching the time here, and
sorry, yeah, go ahead.
I know you indicated to me you really wanted to focus on the left and maybe not get so much detail on the right.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, great, thank you.
So that's what's in it for me. The next thing is, give me a reason to believe. The whole positioning, this hierarchy is all about messaging and how do you get people to take action. So, and the way this hierarchy, the Maslow's law really works is that what's in it for me? Give me a reason to believe. What is it that you do different? What is it that the company does so I can believe in your proposition? Are you addressing the pain points? Why the company matters? If you address my pain point, then I'll say, yep, this company is really great. They know what I'm looking for, what I'm going through. And how am I different? My attributes. The reason I'm different is because other folks do this, I do this. And this is how I'm different, right? Last but not least, prove it to me. So everybody needs a validation. Oh, I'm a 15-year-old company. No, we have guaranteed 40 billion, not 40,000, 40 billion in sales. We improve your conversion by 15%, 25% repeat buyers, and your sales will go up by 30%. Well, these are facts, hard facts. So
before you go on to the next slide, Skylar, why don't you go ahead and run the channel as the channel poll as Anil is finishing the last point here.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah. So I think the left column is really what I want people to kind of focus on, which is what's in it for me? That's your positioning. Give me a reason to believe. What's the pain point you're solving so you're relevant? And how do you really do it? And then prove it to me that you're legit. If you go through this hierarchy for even your ads, your emails, your blogs, everything, go through this hierarchy and you'll be home free.
Great point.
Awesome. So we still have just some results coming in still. So we'll give it just a couple more seconds. So last call to answer the poll. And then Deb, do you want to share the results of this one as well?
Please, yes.
Okay. Still see some answers coming in.
So this kind of leads into the next discussion of channels. So we just want to see where everybody's at on this.
Okay. Let me share the results.
Okay.
Wow.
I'm not surprised by no traditional media, but that's like almost a third. Interesting. So Anil, that's who you have in the room. That's the focus.
and I think I'm not surprised, primarily because I think the top two make sense, and sales is always,
yeah.
Hey, if I want to improve my product adoption, I think I got to have a sales organization and kind of go through that. So it makes perfect sense. Let me just get to the next. Oh, very sorry. So this is just to kind of restate that these are the 5 channels we went after for the obvious reason. That's where the segment is, and they were really picked because we decided sales is not where we're going to go, because we're going after small to medium-sized organizations, e-commerce companies, and we're not going to go after all those fancy digital advertising. We're not going to go after any other channel, because these were direct channels. These are something that we can get to quick at a low cost and get some quick learnings and take the next action. So augment, and every time we take an action. So I want to just quickly give a soundbite on the first strategy, which is Facebook. So we said that, yeah, it's around about 20 million small business people hang around there. I want to do more of my product awareness here. It's really quick. I can spend $50, $30, $100, $150 a day, get 20 cents, 30 cents a click. And yeah, we were right. We immediately, within the first 3 weeks, we got 4,000 responders. 4,000 small businesses responded in the first 2 weeks. Now, did they really convert? That's the next thing we're going to learn. So brand awareness, hey, we are here. Here's a great new product. It's resonating. We validated the hypothesis that, hey, this is a good product. Is this audience really ready for you? Yes, they're ready. But did they really convert in the very first transaction with you? And the answer is, yes, they converted, but not at a rate that we wanted it to. And I'll get to it, how this really helps with the overall layering of the other channels. How does this came to be a good way for us to go into this channel by channel strategy. The next thing we layered in is that we layered in LinkedIn. We know that LinkedIn has really business to enterprise level audience there. We know it's expensive, but we also know that we can do really targeted advertising here and see if they will convert on their own rather than going to the sales organization. We're learning their behavioral stuff. And what we realized is that, yes, it is far more expensive. It's 4 or almost 10 times more than Facebook, but we got some really good conversion. We call something called lead forms that are there on LinkedIn, where you drive through ads, people come to the lead form and they give the lead and they get a demo, and we get them straight to the demo. If they're going to the demo, which means I'm getting sales folks involved. If they download the ebook that I'm giving them and then they convert by themselves, then that's even better because it's low cost per acquisition. So we learned that through this channel. Third was YouTube. YouTube has, top 5,000 influencers for tech companies, especially for SaaS platform. And we handpicked some YouTube influencers, as well as started advertising on YouTube. The influencers, goes to some of the earlier question is, how do you really get to the positioning? We went through our own positioning, but we gave a full carte blanche to the influencer and says, if you were to sell this product to your audience, each one of you have 5,000, 20,000, 50,000 audiences who are e-commerce entrepreneurs, what would you really say and how would you say this? So we get a learning from them because they know their audience, they're promoting this product, but they're doing an evaluation of this product. Hey, I've got the best new tool that is going to increase your online store conversion rate. That product is this. Here's how you need to go to Shopify. Here's how you need to put it on your website, and it's going to help you improve your conversion. So we got some messaging from them, but more importantly, we got their recommendations, and more importantly, we got them to take the next action, which is when we started advertising and pushing a product on Shopify, they had already seen the influencers promoting a product. They saw the influencers review on Shopify, and they started downloading our product right away. So yes, we started from Facebook. We made our product aware. We went to LinkedIn, tried to get another segment information. We went to YouTube, got the influencers to talk about us, and then they started converting on Shopify. And last but not least, this is the pull strategy. All the other 4 are push. We're advertising, pushing our messaging, and telling them what you need to do. Take action, take action, take action. Here, nobody's going to buy on the first transaction. Yes, some of them do, but majority of them are going to do research on you. We know that for a fact. So once they go back and research, either because they have contacted you before or they're aware of you, then we're going to get them through retargeting. If they're doing some keyword searches which is relevant to you, then we can get them there too. So this is really more of a pull strategy. We are not doing display ads here. We're not doing any of the push strategy. This is primarily a pull. So we completely eliminated everything else that Google does. We went 100% on retargeting because we want to maximize our advertising dollars that we did before. So any questions? Sorry. Yeah, so the reason I rushed through that is because I wanted to get to the point is that, yes, we had challenges. It's a new segment. Yes, we had the challenges. We didn't know who it is and what's going to really get us to, what will get them to buy our product. Yes, we didn't know that they're going to transact with us in the very first contact that we make with them. How long will it take? Throughout the funnel process, is it 3 days, 4 days, 10 steps, 10 days, 10 weeks? We didn't know that. So what performance marketing really helped us in this case is that every transaction, every reaction, every action that our end user took, we were recording it and we were changing it. So in other words, when the Facebook advertising goes live, 4,000 customers came in the first 2 weeks. How many of them really converted? If it's only 2%, doesn't matter. I have really 2% data that I didn't have before. I took that data and said, do I need to change my message? Do I need to change my landing page? Do I really need to change my products and features and my prioritization? Then you go back to the market again 2 weeks later and you change that. Same thing with LinkedIn, same thing with YouTube, same thing with Shopify. So you constantly...
So Anil, you're really throwing a lot at them, which is fantastic. But why don't we go to the next slide and give them their homework, because it's sort of like
absolutely. And I think the key thing I wanted to say is that at the end of the day, if you see this, the goal was to try and get incremental revenue. What's the strategy that's going to get us to the incremental revenue? So that comes to what did we learn from this? And with this case study and this organization and the strategy, the go-to-market strategy that we developed. First thing is understanding the business reality. When we developed the profile, situational profile, we knew what the company is looking for. We knew what the situation is. We knew all the business challenges, and we want to understand. So this way, we know exactly how to go and how to grow the business. Marketing approach must always be customized to company's needs. It's always quick short-term wins, but those short-term wins should really develop your long-term growth strategy. That's what we learned here through this case study. Avoid expensive. This is really for CEOs as well as chief operating officers and internal marketing folks, as much as it is for consultants and marketing folks, which is don't get lost into the random acts of marketing. Pick the right go-to-market strategy. You know your audience, you know where they are, pick the right channels, pick the right strategy that matches to that audience. Don't just start doing everything else because it's sexy and exciting to do. And by the way, you don't even have, in this situation, you didn't have the budget to even do that. Brand positioning is key, but brand differentiation is even more important. And it's a new product, going to a new segment, they're not aware of you. How do you really get traction? The only way you get traction is to position yourself differently. What are the key differentiators? You got to really get that fast. And then last but not least, go to the market, learn, grow your sales, grow your revenue, and be data-driven. Measure everything, and then take action accordingly. Net, in this case study, we were able to get from 500 revenue transaction, we're able to get to 9,000 per month in 90 days.
So
we were able. So just like at a very high level, I don't want. Yeah. I'm fudging the numbers just to make sure from the NDA perspective, I want to make sure that I don't give the correct numbers. But it's really, we increased to almost 9,500 per month in 90 days because it was a grueling exercise in terms of measuring every step that we're working on and validating. And in all of this, as much as I thought that LinkedIn is going to really work, it didn't really work. It gave us some good data point, but we shut that down within the first 2 weeks of our implementation. We realized that Shopify was working much better than the way I thought it's going to work. YouTube did much better. Facebook was purely, it's cheap, it's just pure tonnage. Just keep advertising because it's very cheap, get people aware of it, but you really don't have to stop it. You can just lower and increase as in when you see what your budget, the threshold is. But net, we really were able to get very close to the goals that we had in the 90-day.
Great.
But at least now the company has a platform, has a roadmap how to scale it.
Great. Thank you, Anil. And I see we've got about 3 or 4 minutes left. And Chris, ask your question, because this is really very relevant about time for evaluating messaging. And I'll open it up for other questions, please. And if we don't catch them here, we'll take a few minutes afterwards, or we'll make sure we respond in email or some other way.
Yeah, and I also want to say, Deb, thank you for that, and Neil. We're technically supposed to end in a few minutes, but if you guys want to stay on, we're not going anywhere. And I know some of you, you might have pressing questions for Anil, so we will be flexible. Thank you.
Chris, did you want to ask your question? Or?
Sure. Yes. So my question about the messaging is like, how long at minimum should you evaluate if the messaging is working and resonating or not with your target audience? For example, you mentioned 90 days. Should we transition from messaging during that period of 90 days, or should we use different target messages for different customers and things like that?
Great point. It's a great question. So the way we were evaluating in this case was that we were evaluating messaging every 2 weeks. And we didn't stop. So within Facebook, we got that huge response in the very first 2 weeks. And one would say, yeah, that sounds pretty good. But my reaction was, I don't know whether I should have, is 4,000 really good response? Maybe I should have got 10,000. I don't know. So what we call is something called back test. In other words, you take the message, there's another new message, you test it against that. And you go out in the same channel again. So we went to the influencer, when we went to YouTube, we said, okay, the influencers are saying, this is how they are going to talk to their audience. That's very different than the way we approached in our Facebook. So for example, in Facebook, we say, you're covered up to this much. You're covered up to 10,000, you're covered up to $100, you're covered up to 30 days, right? Those were the guarantees, the shopping guarantees we were giving. The influencer said, no, that's not good because everybody uses that. Their strategy was, you're going to be reimbursed up to $10,000. You're going to be reimbursed for up to 30 days. You're going to be, they took the whole concept of instead of coverage, they were going with a message of reimbursing. In other words, well, that sounds like the end user is going to get money back. That's a much better positioning. So we took that positioning. We saw how many clicks they were getting, how many customers they were driving. We took that, and 4 weeks later, we went back to Facebook with that kind of messaging. So you're constantly learning, and these segments are really, the audiences are telling you what is resonating, because it's not a one positioning that fits all, just the way it's not one marketing strategy that fits all, all businesses. Same thing here, one positioning may not fit all channels. It might, but it might not. And in our Google search retargeting, it was not about increasing sales. It was all about how do I improve my traffic? So all the traffic that they were driving to their e-commerce shop, that's what the biggest search keywords were. So we said, oh, we need to really link ourselves. And then in our influencer strategy, we went back and said, please, can you do some videos where you recommend, hey, now that you've spent all the advertising dollars, now that you've driven traffic to your e-commerce site, are they really converting? Are they really seeing the sales? So we put the question that way. So it is an iterative process.
So we're starting to get some really great questions in here, and I do want to acknowledge that it's 12:30. TN, we're going to keep answering these questions as you indicated. I didn't know if you needed to say anything right at 12:30.
No, if you guys need to drop, we respect that, and we appreciate your joining us. We do have the Slack channel for this particular masterclass, so if you have follow-on questions you want to share with some of your other classmates or with Deb or with Anil, feel free to use that Slack channel. And in the meantime, we'll keep going. And again, if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you'll get a notification when this video is ready to go. And I think Skylar put it in, but maybe we can put it in again.
Sure.
But no, we can keep going for another 5 or 10 minutes, or as long as you guys have burning questions. But I just wanted to say thank you guys and have a great day. So we can keep going, Anil.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you. We have a great question. Liam, do you want to talk? He is bringing up TikTok.
Yeah, I mean, I used TikTok for a few different campaigns, and I have an app that connects gamers, and so for us, it was sort of our demographic. And I saw that, at least for us, for example, every like $500 or so we spent. For example, we found out that $500 on TikTok gets you about 150,000 impressions, as opposed to Facebook, which got us about maybe 25,000. It was significantly less. And even for TikTok, I like it way more because it's so much more specific than Facebook and Instagram ad platform. For example, in terms of like the demographics that you can choose, you can go so much more specific than just, age. I mean, you can literally do, things like what they see on social media. Do they like stuff? Do they comment? Do they share? So I found TikTok's platform to be far more effective than Facebook. And I think for anybody who, especially for people who are doing who have apps, if you're trying to reach a primarily under 30 demographic, TikTok is definitely the best bet that we found so far.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. For us, our demographic was e-commerce owners, right? So online store owners and small business. They're generating around about 10,000 to 20,000 is their starting. That's the revenue per month they're generating. And our goal was to let them know that now that 10,000 that you're generating, it can go up by 7 to 15% by using our app. So that's the reason we decided to go after Facebook. Facebook performance in the last year has dropped down by 30%.
Yeah,
even with that, it was still profitable for us. A, because we wanted to learn what's the message. B, are they converting? So I think performance marketing tells us one thing, which is it's not about the impression, at least in this case, sorry. It's about impressions when you're doing gaming and younger audience. It's not about impression, it's the transactions that you're making, because my ultimate goal was revenue. It was not about brand awareness, it was revenue. So you really have to kind of go through that. So my first reaction was not to do Facebook at all. My first thing was, let's just go after LinkedIn. But LinkedIn, I felt that it is going to give me the mid-level audience, but then it's going to become a sales channel after that. So they want to go after self-serve. Which of the channels going to allow me to go self-serve? They don't know. We don't know. How can I really test it and get into the market? So that's that. So your great point. I'm using for one of my clients. I'm using TikTok for healthcare. Believe it or not. And this is senior people. This is Medicaid folks. I'm using TikTok. So there's a whole story on that. But I'm saying it can be effective. But the e-commerce group was not going to do transactions and buy a product on TikTok. At least that's what our assumption was. But we could definitely test it. Yep.
So we have one more question, and if I missed, and it's from Joe Clark. Do you want to? You've got a great question, and I think we can pull this one in the next few minutes.
Sure.
Do you want to share your question?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi there.
Go ahead.
So my question was, and thanks again, Anil, for this. This is always helpful. I have a similar client proposed based as you do, which is a small to medium business. And the question is, what I'm doing is somewhat technically complex. And so I didn't want to spend a lot of technology until I had like in-depth kind of to the lean startup methodology. I wanted to have some in-depth discussions with enough of the brands to make sure I'm understanding the nuances of, you know, how you said it was so important that the product be positioned, you know, that you tell them why you're better in order to get them to sign on, to convert as a customer.
Yes.
But I wanted to find out why, you know, what they need, what people are missing. And my question to you is, how do you market? Like, it's very difficult because if you call in these brands cold and then say, hey, I want to ask you questions, they feel like they're giving you proprietary data, right? They don't want to share the data. But if you do a survey, you don't get as much qualitative data and you can't drill down on a specific issue. Like, tell me more about that. What happened? How long did it take you to resolve it? How did you resolve it? So sorry, this question is so long, but it's super critical for entrepreneurs to stop spending so much on tech until we have the data we need to build something that's going to get us customers more quickly.
Yeah, so I think if I understand the question, it's really more that before developing and putting too much money into the product development, try and get an understanding of, you know, what's viable, what do they really need, and how we can get to their need quicker, right?
Exactly.
Because a lot of companies are not going to give you, through surveys or through contacting them, they're not going to give you their proprietary information. Am I right?
Sorry, I muted myself. Yes, that's exactly correct.
So in this case, what we always say is that a minimum viable product. In other words, whatever you have to get to the market fast. So the reason I was okay with the business limitations or challenges that this company gave is because they're saying, we don't want to spend too much time in developing this product if we think there's nothing there. So we want to really learn. That was one of the reasons why they wanted to do this. And I said, okay, sounds good. So really within the first, I would say, $1,500 or $2,000 that we spent in the first 2 weeks, we got to know whether there is there or not. So, and then on top of that, we said, okay, there's there, but we can improve the conversion and more people can buy it if you added this feature to the product, if you added this feature in the next 30 days, if you add this in the next 60 days, if you add this to the same product in the next, and we're still doing that. You know, they went from self-serve, they started going to some big brands and they started partnering with them. There's a whole bunch of product line that we're developing with them, but we had a proof of concept right there, get go, which is go to market fast, minimum viable product approach, and we got them some learning. So the reason I put that slide saying $50 a day, $100 a day, $150 a day, your channel will tell you what your audience will tell you whether that product is good enough or not. So you can get some feedback and then kind of put money into the product development. So it's, in other words, instead of trying to get insight and research, you could get insight and research by going to the market right away.
Great.
I don't know if I
And those are
answered your question.
That's great. Thank you, Anil, and thanks everyone for your questions. There are a couple that I am going to follow up with, but I believe other than those who I've communicated with, we've covered all the questions in the chat, and I think we're about 1 minute from when Tian said he really did want to close. So I'll just say thank you to everyone, and Anil, I agree. It was a great presentation. You did. I was glad to be your press agent today. And thank you so much, TN and Skylar, for giving us this opportunity to engage with this incredible group. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, you guys were great. Really appreciate it. I look forward to continuing the dialogue. This is not a open and closed situation. If you guys need more information, want some more advice, you want to share some of the plans and ideas that you guys have been working on, please do with each other. And again, this is like a learning opportunity. So really appreciate the Anil and Deb and you guys doing this, and also you guys joining. So with that, we can end. And if you have any continuation, Deb and Anil, do you want to put your emails in? Or you have your emails up already? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you can contact Deb or Anil directly, and we'll also share your contact info with them. So, they'll have that, and maybe they can follow up with you and just check in and make sure you guys are progressing as expected. So thank you guys so much. And
No, thanks for the opportunity. It was awesome.
Great. And hopefully we'll see you next week as well with Bob London's presentation, which will be outstanding also. So I'm going to stop the recording now.